Hello friends, it's Kayla. I know I did a video like this a month ago, but before I do like a most anticipated of 2020 or 5-star predictions of 2020, I am living in the past. Forgot 2020 happened. My apologies. 2021. Before I do all my 2021 videos, I first need to tell you about all of the things that have been announced for 2021 that I want to read. So, welcome back to another installment of I read Goodreads synopses to you of books that are coming not actually that soon, and then you listen to me and that's it. I actually have less than usual, which makes sense because I only did this a month ago. So I think there's like 17 books. So we should be able to get through this in 17 minutes. That's like the math. Some of them aren't actually things that I need to read you the whole synopsis for, but I probably will anyway. But they're more of cover reveals of books I've already talked about. The first one I definitely want to talk about is All's Well. That's really bright. All's Well by Mona Awad, who's one of my favorite authors. And I told you she has a she has a Shakespeare book coming in 2021, but I don't actually remember if I read you the synopsis. But it does have a cover. Where should I put it? Over there. If I have already read this aloud, please forgive me, but the cover got revealed and it scares me. So it says, Miranda Fitch's life is a waking nightmare. The accident that ended her burgeoning acting career left her with excruciating chronic back pain, a failed marriage, and a deepening dependence on painkillers. And now she's on the verge of losing her job as a college theater director. Determined to put on Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well, the play that promised and cost her everything, she faces a mutinous cast hell-bent on staging Macbeth instead. Okay, I actually don't think I've read this. Miranda sees her chance at redemption slip through her fingers. That's when she meets three strange benefactors who have eerie knowledge of Miranda's past and a tantalizing promise for her future. One where the show goes on, her rebellious students get what's coming to them, and the invisible, doubted pain that's kept her from the spotlight is made known. When is this coming out? August. Should I force you all to read it with me? We'll see. There's actually a lot of thrillers on this list, so if you want to let me know which ones you are most interested in, maybe I'll be more likely to pick them as literally dead book club picks. I know Mona Awad is not for everyone or even for most, but Bunny and 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl were just incredible. So this is, yeah, my most anticipated read of 2021. Oh my god. Next up, Megan Miranda recently announced a new book. I read all of her books and I have such mixed experiences with them. It's so strange. Like, I feel like this is a pen name and 2 to 3 different people are writing under it. That's how different I feel the writing is throughout her books. It's just such a mixed bag. So this one's called Such a Quiet Place. The cover's fine. I haven't even read this to myself. I just automatically put it on my TBR. So let's learn together. Hollow's Edge used to be a quiet place, a private and idyllic. I had trouble pronouncing this word in my last video. Idyllic. Dropped in on our neighbors, celebrated graduation and holiday parties together, and looked out for one another. This is a really long synopsis. But then came the murder of Brandon and Fiona Truitt. A year and a half later, Hollow's Edge is simmering. The residents are trapped, unable to sell their homes, confronted daily by the empty Truitt house, and suffocated by their trial testimonies that implicated one of their own. I've talked about how I want more legal mysteries or courtroom mysteries. So I wonder, with her conviction overturned, Ruby waltzes right back into Hollow's Edge and into the home she once shared with Harper Nash. Harper, 5 years older, has always treated Ruby like a wayward younger sister, but now she's terrified. What possible good could come of Ruby's return to the scene of the crime? And how can she possibly turn her away when she knows Ruby has nowhere to go? Okay, I don't want to read anymore. It goes on. I would have read it regardless of what the synopsis said, so I am interested. Are you? The most recent announcement is Paula Hawkins' new book, which you're probably wondering, why on earth this is on your TBR? You hated Paula Hawkins' last 2 books. And to that I say, I have an interesting video series planned for 2021, so I'm gonna read it. This is called A Slow Fire Burning. I feel fine about the cover. It says, explaining the new book's premise in her own words. Oh, so this isn't the actual synopsis, this is just like a blurb. Hawkins said, A Slow Fire Burning starts with a brutal murder on a London canal boat. Laura, a likely suspect, is witnessed leaving the scene, and for a while it looks like a straightforward case. But what I wanted to explore in this book is the way that no tragedy happens in isolation. An accident in childhood can have ramifications a decade later. Trusting the wrong person at the wrong time can derail a life completely. I'm interested in the way we become the people we are, how we choose what we hold on to, and how those things can wound us. I don't really feel anything. Next up, For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. Part of me feels like I already maybe talked about this one. Time is confusing, but I do quite enjoy the cover. Side note, pretty much all of these books come out in like July and August, so I can't reasonably pick them all for the book club. Anyway, this says it's a sneaky thriller set at a prestigious private school, complete with interfering parents, overeager students, and one teacher who just wants to teach them all a lesson. Oh god. Teddy Crutcher has won Teacher of the Year at the esteemed Belmont Academy, home to the bright and best. The best and brightest. I'm struggling today. He says his wife couldn't be more proud, though no one has seen her in a while. Teddy really can't be bothered with the death of a school parent that's looking more and more like the murder, or the student digging a little too deep into Teddy's personal life. His main focus is on pushing these kids to their full academic potential. All he wants is for his colleagues and the endlessly meddlesome parents to stay out of his way. It's really too bad that sometimes excellence can come at such a high cost. I feel like so many mystery thrillers I'm picking up are from the perspective of women, the last couple years especially, so I'm interested in this. Next up, of course, I can't not talk about Riley Sager's new book. So I know I've talked about this a couple times, but I really hope it hasn't been in one of these videos. It's November 1991, close to when I was born. George H.W. Bush is in the White House, Nirvana is on the tape deck, and movie-obsessed college student Charlie Jordan is in a car with a man who might be a serial killer. Dun dun dun! Josh Baxter, the man behind the wheel, is a virtual stranger to Charlie. They met at the campus ride board, each looking to share the long drive home to Ohio. Both have good reasons for wanting to get away. For Charlie, it's guilt and grief over the murder of her best friend, who became the third victim of a man called the Campus Killer. For Josh, it's to help care for his sick father, or so he says. Like the Hitchcock heroine she's named after, Charlie has her doubts. There's something suspicious about Josh, from the holes in his story about his father to how he doesn't seem to want Charlie to see inside the car's trunk. As we've established a couple months ago, I can get on board with a road trip story if it's a thriller. So I'm so interested. Okay, I know Mary Kubica just had a book announcement, so let's read that one together. Mixed experience with Mary Kubica for sure, but I keep getting pulled in. So this one is called Local Woman Missing, and it says people don't just disappear without a trace ... Shelby Tebow is the first to go missing. Not long after, Meredith Dickey and her 6-year-old daughter Delilah vanished just blocks away from where Shelby was last seen, striking fear into their once peaceful community. Are these incidents connected? After an elusive search that yields more questions than answers, the case eventually goes cold. Now, 11 years later, Delilah shockingly returns. Everyone wants to know what happened to her, but no one is prepared for what they'll find. That's it. Oh my gosh, how vague. Okay, moving away from mysteries, Andy Weir has a book coming out in 2021. It's 500 pages. It's called Project Hail Mary. It looks spacey. Like, obviously I'm gonna pick it up. A lone astronaut must save the Earth from disaster. Oh gosh, okay. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and the Earth itself will perish. Except that right now he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. I loved The Martian so much, and then I bought whatever that other book is called. I want to say Artemis, but I never read it. I know not a lot of people loved Artemis, so I think this one sounds like it's back to more of what The Martian was like. We'll see. A book I talked to you about before called Small Favors by Erin A. Craig got a cover. I don't know, there's something about wasps and bees that really pulls me in. I forget what this one is. Oh yeah, it's another character named Ellery. I feel like I've read 5 books in the last couple years with characters named Ellery. That has nothing to do with anything. I just wanted to share that I had never heard that name before. Okay, This is one where she's living in the quiet town of Amity Falls, bordered by a nearly impenetrable forest from which the early townsfolk fought off the devils in the woods. To this day, visitors are rare, but when a supply party goes missing, some worry that the monsters that once stalked the region have returned. Strange activities plague the town. Devilish mystical creatures, oh yeah, who promise to fulfill the residents' deepest desires, however grand and impossible for just a small favor. It's like a gothic tale based on Rumpelstiltskin, and it also said that it's like The Village meets Needful Things, which are two of my favorite things. So I just want to check it out. If you've read from her before, let me know, because I think she has a couple things out. Of course, you know I couldn't do this video without talking about Mr. Impossible, which I know people have mixed feelings about, and like I think it's one of the worst titles of all time for the story that it is, but there's just as many people pushing against it and saying like, everyone who hates it, you're wrong, it's fine. I just really hate it, and I don't really like the cover, but it is the second book in the Dreamer trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater, a spin-off of the Raven Cycle. If you haven't read it and you plan to, maybe like skip this whole section, because I don't actually know what the synopsis says, but it could spoil things in general. The stakes have never been higher, as it seems like either the end of the world or the end of dreamers. Do the dreamers need the ley lines to save the world, or will their actions end up dooming the world? As Ronan, Hennessy, and Bride try to make dreamers more powerful, the moderators are closing in, sure that this power will bring about disaster. In the remarkable second book of the Dreamer trilogy, Maggie Stiefvater pushes her characters to their limits and shows what happens to them and others when they start to break. That makes it sound like kind of stupid. I don't know, I just feel like her writing and her books are so much better and well written than the synopsis for them are. But anyway, I am going to read it. Okay, the next couple covers are books that I talked about really recently, so maybe I shouldn't read the whole thing again. One of them is A Lesson in Vengeance, which has been on my TBR on Goodreads for a very long time. It finally got a cover, and it was actually drawn by one of my favorite artists to follow on Instagram, so that was a super nice surprise. It's super cute. It's by Victoria Lee, and I actually, sorry, my computer died. I barely remember what it's about, but I do remember it being one of my most anticipated reads. Why was that? Oh yeah, it takes place at the Dalloway School, and it's for fans of Wilder Girls and Ninth House. It says it's an it's a thriller. I thought it was more like fantasy, whatever. Dark, twisty, atmospheric thriller about a boarding school haunted by its history of witchcraft and two girls dangerously close to digging up the past. I just like witchy, sapphic, dark academia, thriller, magic. Like, this just sounds like everything I need. Okay, and then the other cover that was released, I talked about at length last time, so I'm just going to show you the cover and not talk about it because I feel like the title itself tells you everything. Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating. It's a super cute cover, and it's about their fake dating. It only got recently announced. I love Adipa Jagidar's writing, so I can't wait. Hi! I know how much we love Kayla from the future, so here she is. Every time I do one of these videos of upcoming releases, I check 4 places. I check the things I recently added to my Goodreads shelf, my Twitter feed to see what I've retweeted, my bookmarked photos on Instagram, and then I check my screenshot folder. Because of course I can't keep them all in one place, and I did myself a disservice by doing the video before I was prepared because I forgot one of the 4, and that was my Twitter. One of them, like, I'm angry that I forgot because Angie Thomas tweeted out, "Absolutely thrilled to announce that I'm writing a novel with some of my favorite people. Get ready for Blackout." And it's literally all authors that I've read before writing a book together. Danielle Clayton, side note, I don't talk about Tiny Pretty Things enough for how much I enjoyed that book. I'm gonna need to do a reread and then watch the adaptation. Anyway, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. It's a novel made up of 6 interlinked stories celebrating Black love. The premise centers on a citywide power outage in New York. That's one of my favorite premises of a book, by the way. Like, I love survival, post-apocalyptic power outage, but there's something about a power outage just in general. I love when that is a plot point. Throwing residents into a tailspin and bringing up new romantic relationships, friendships, and all kinds of hidden truth. It's coming out in June 2021. It focuses on Black joy specifically, especially at a time when authors still feel pressure to write about more headline-generating topics like police brutality. There is no fiercer form of rebellion than telling love stories about kids who are often told they're unworthy of them at a time like the one we're living in. I absolutely cannot wait to read that. Next up, I always talk about short story collections. So this one comes out in like 2022, but a couple different authors, Yu Chen and Regina Conyu Wang, are editing an anthology of Chinese science fiction and fantasy, written, edited, and translated by women and non-binary creators. So it's an anthology in translation. That's what the little cover says. Oh, and of course it's by Tor. So these are mostly authors that I've never read from before, translators I've never read from before. Of course, this one's on my TBR, as well as another anthology. It's all about games. Edited by Laura Silverman. It says it's a YA anthology all about games, from athletic sports to Dungeons and Dragons to Truth or Dare. Contributors include Gloria Chow, Sona Charapatra, again, Tiny Pretty Things, iconic. A couple authors I haven't heard of, Katie Cotugno, Francesca Zappia. Okay, cool, that's gonna come out in 2022 as well. You know that I'm most excited about the Truth or Dare one. I love it. Next up, Katrina Leno is writing another book. It's called Summer Reading, an ode to books and summertime, in which Anna Lucia Bell expects the worst from her summer vacation with her recently divorced parents, but everything changes with the arrival of new friendships and a magical meteor shower, which lead Anna to deepen her understanding of herself, love, and the magic that an ordinary summer can bring. Again, coming out in 2022, but absolutely have to read, obviously. Oh, this one, Rebecca Barrow has a YA novel called Bad Things Happen Here coming out, and it says it's an emotional literary mystery. Follows a girl who lives on a beautiful island, plagued by unsolved deaths of young women. While healing from her own traumatic loss, she begins to investigate the murders, meets a new girl, and discovers the truth that connects them all. Again, 2022. And she tweeted a story about a cursed island, an aching kind of love, and a sad, crazy girl clawing her way to the truth. So those are a couple more things that I forgot and I'm sorry about, but I included them before the video goes up, so hooray. Actually, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I have a couple other books that vaguely intrigue me, but they're not things that are at the top of my list. I'm gonna wait until more people read them or talk about them. Like, they just pulled me in quickly with their covers. That's it, a fun casual video. I hope you learned about a new book, or you just got to see me excited about books that I'm excited about, and I will see you later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Bye.